7 months pregnant, I dragged groceries up 3 flights while my husband lounged on the couch, lost in his video game. I dropped the bags, breathless, drenched in sweat. He looked up and said, "You're disgusting. Lose the weight fast, or I'll find someone who isn't lazy." His friends laughed. I didn't. I just smiled. 72 hours later, he was calling me nonstop, begging me. Girlies, I'm currently holed up in a hotel room, 7 months pregnant, and trying to make sense of everything that just unfolded today. Am I being dramatic? Am I in shock? I honestly don't know, but I need to get this out before I implode. It's a long story, so bear with me. To give you some background, Alan and I have been together for 5 years, married for the last 3. We first crossed paths at a local community theater. He was the charming lead actor with the musician vibe, and I was behind the scenes working on costumes. He had this magnetic energy, like he was plugged into life at full voltage. I was smitten from day one. But things started to shift the moment I got pregnant. It wasn't something we planned, and while I was overwhelmed at first, I eventually felt excited, hopeful. Alan, on the other hand, gave me the textbook responses, but his behavior told a different story. Instead of being more present, he dove deeper into gaming marathons with his buddies and left the rest, me, the house, our future, to fend for itself. I convinced myself he was just struggling to adjust. Men, right? Plus, this pregnancy has been hell. 3 straight months of nonstop nausea, then anemia, and now my back feels like it's being twisted by a medieval torture device. Which brings me to today. After finishing up work, I swung by Trader Joe's to stock up. We live in a 3rd-floor walk-up, no elevator, and the car was packed with groceries. When I got home, Alan was flopped on the couch, headset on, deep into Call of Duty, surrounded by empty Monster cans like some kind of teenage frat boy shrine. I asked if he could give me a hand bringing the bags upstairs. He didn't even pause, just waved me off and mumbled that he was in the middle of something important. So there I was, 7 months pregnant, hauling bags up 3 flights of stairs, trip after exhausting trip. By the 6th round, my shirt was drenched, my back felt like it was splintering, and my swollen ankles were about to burst out of my shoes. When I finally dropped the last load in the kitchen, I collapsed into a chair, heart pounding, gasping for air. Then Alan looked over at me and said, "I'm not even kidding. You're starting to look disgusting. You better lose all that weight fast after the baby, or I'm finding someone who actually takes care of herself." I sat there stunned, and then I heard laughter, through his headset. His gaming friends had heard him. He wanted them to hear it. He wanted an audience. Instead of yelling or sobbing, like I think he expected, I just walked over, kissed him lightly on the forehead, smiled, and said I needed a shower. The confusion on his face would have been hilarious if I wasn't shattered inside. In the shower, with the hot water muffling everything else, I finally let the tears come. But they weren't just from sadness. They were the tears of someone who'd finally seen things clearly. Every red flag I'd ignored for 5 years came into brutal focus. This wasn't new behavior. This was just the clearest, ugliest version of what had been there all along. This was who he really was. And I was about to bring a child into that reality. A child who would grow up thinking this is what love looks like. A child who would either treat others this way or believe they deserved to be treated like this. Number, absolutely not. I stepped out of the shower, pulled on the softest maternity dress I own, and told Alan I needed some air, some time to think. He barely glanced away from the screen. I picked up my hospital go bag. I already had it packed because, well, I'm a planner. Grabbed my laptop, my important documents, and walked out the door. I'm now at a Holiday Inn about 20 minutes away. I called my sister Anne. She lives about an hour out, and she's driving down tomorrow to help me sort things out. Alan? He's called twice and sent one text, asking where the leftovers are in the fridge. Not where I am, where the leftovers are. I need to leave him. I need to protect myself and my baby, but I'm terrified. I'm 7 months pregnant. Our lease is in both our names. Our finances are somewhat entangled, though I've always kept my own separate account where my paychecks go. Thank God. I was counting on having a partner for childcare and expenses, but I keep coming back to that moment in the kitchen. The casual cruelty. The way he said it like he was commenting on the weather. The fact that he wanted his friends to hear it. I should have left years ago. I deserve better. My baby deserves better. I don't know exactly what my next steps are, but I know I'm not going back to that apartment tonight. Maybe not ever. Edit. A lot of people are wondering if that was the first time he made a remark like that. It wasn't. For months, he's been slipping in digs about how my body has changed during pregnancy, remarks cloaked in sarcasm or thinly veiled as concern. "You used to be so sexy," he'd joke, or he'd ask when I planned to get back in shape, all with a grin that let me pretend, maybe, just maybe, he didn't mean it like it sounded. But today, the mask came off entirely. To those saying maybe I should have spoken up more or worked harder to fix things, trust me, I tried. We've had countless talks about sharing the workload, especially since I got pregnant. He always said he'd do better, and then 48 hours later, it was back to me handling everything. I suggested couples therapy 3 different times. He always had an excuse, always something more important. So no, this wasn't a one-time flare-up. Today was just the day everything came into focus. Update, same night. It's 2 a.m. and sleep isn't even an option. Alan must have realized I wasn't coming home because my phone's been buzzing nonstop. First, confusion. "Where are you?" Then annoyance. "You're being ridiculous." Then came the guilt trip. I was just messing around. You know how the guys talk. The most recent message? A string of texts warning me not to be wasting our money on a hotel room. Our money. The same funds that come almost entirely from my paycheck while he chases a dream in music and decks out his gaming setup like he's preparing for a livestream career that doesn't exist. I've made up my mind. I'm seeing a lawyer before I ever set foot in that apartment again. I've silenced every one of his messages, and I'm trying to rest. For my baby, if not for me. My sister's coming in the morning. The baby is kicking like crazy right now. I put my hand on my belly and whispered, "I've got you. We're going to be okay." And for the first time today, I actually believe it. First update, it's been about 4 weeks since my last post, and I need to update because things have gotten so intense. Thank you to everyone who commented with support. Your messages kept me going when I wanted to give up. So, after that night, when Alan called me disgusting for gaining pregnancy weight, my sister Anne came and we talked through my options. We decided I needed to go back to the apartment temporarily while I got my affairs in order. Many of you warned me not to let Alan know I was planning to leave until I was ready. And OMG, you were so right. When I returned home, Alan acted like nothing had happened. When I brought up his comment, he rolled his eyes and said I was being too sensitive, and it was just a joke. Then he tried to turn it around on me, saying, "I've been so moody lately and he's walking on eggshells." He actually said, "Do you know how hard this pregnancy has been for me?" For him, I nearly lost it, but I remembered my plan. So I took a deep breath, apologized for overreacting, and said I was just tired and hormonal. The relief on his face was immediate. He thought he had won, that I was back in line, and everything could go back to normal. Little did he know, I was already consulting with a divorce attorney. The past month has been one of the most challenging of my life. I've been living a double life, outwardly playing the role of apologetic pregnant wife while systematically preparing to leave. Here's what I've done so far. I've been keeping a detailed journal of Alan's behavior, including dates, times, and exactly what he says. I've also quietly recorded some of our conversations on my phone where he's been particularly nasty. My lawyer says this could help with the divorce. I've always kept my paycheck going to my personal account, thank God. But I've now moved my direct deposit entirely to a new account at a different bank. I've been slowly moving money from our joint account to my private account in small amounts that wouldn't raise suspicion. Basically, reclaiming what I've contributed over the years. While going through our financial records, I discovered something that made me sick to my stomach. Alan has a credit card in my name that I didn't know existed. He's racked up over $5,000 in debt for his gaming PC and other stuff. I've reported the fraud to the credit card company and provided evidence it wasn't me. I've gathered all important documents: birth certificate, marriage license, bank statements, tax returns. Everything is now in a secure location outside our apartment. My sister helped me find a small 2-bedroom apartment that's ground floor, no stairs, has laundry and unit, and is in a secure building. I signed the lease last week. It's modest, nothing fancy, but it's mine. And more importantly, it's safe. Quietly, carefully, I've been gathering the pieces of my life that truly matter and sending them ahead to my sister's house when Alan isn't around. I'm deliberate, subtle, nothing that might raise suspicion. The keepsakes, the photos, the little things that hold meaning. I've also picked up a burner phone. My usual phone stays with me, perfectly normal, while the backup remains hidden, something he can't trace, can't control. Living this double life has drained me in every possible way, especially while carrying a child in the final stretch. My feet are always swollen. My back is in a constant state of protest, and it feels like the baby is doing somersaults between my ribs and bladder every hour of the day. Still, every quiet step toward my own freedom feels like reclaiming a piece of myself. The hardest part is faking it, maintaining the illusion that everything's fine. I still cook his meals. I still nod and chuckle at his jokes. I still listen to him rant about his band like they're the center of the universe. I watch him lose hours to his video games while I handle every adult responsibility. Lying beside him each night makes my skin itch, now that I've stopped lying to myself about who he really is. He's changed. Or maybe I've just finally seen him clearly. Either way, ever since he sensed I've stopped pushing back, he's stopped pretending. The mask has slipped. Last week, he invited his gamer friends over without warning me, just showed up with them at the front door like I was the maid, not his wife. I'd barely walked in from work and was lying down, trying to manage the pain in my back, when he came into the bedroom and said, "You should make yourself useful and order some pizzas." I told him I was hurting. He rolled his eyes and said, "Pregnancy isn't a disability. Women have done this for centuries." Then added some story about his mom working up until the day before she had him. Complete fiction. I checked casually, and she told me herself she'd been on bed rest the entire final month due to complications. His friends heard all of it. I caught one of them glancing at me like he knew it was wrong, but no one said a word. I ended up ordering the pizzas from bed, paid with my own money. When they arrived, Alan hollered from the living room for me to get the door. "We're in the middle of a match," he said, like that excused it. So I dragged myself out of bed, waddled to the door in my pajamas, paid the delivery guy, laid out plates and napkins, and was ignored like background noise. After they finally left, around 2 a.m, leaving beer cans and greasy boxes scattered across the living room, he came to bed and tried to initiate sex. I told him I was exhausted. He said, "Come on, it's not like you need to do anything. Just lie there like you always do." I went to the bathroom and cried as quietly as I could. I reminded myself, just a little while longer. I've got a plan. Next weekend, when he heads out of town to visit his parents for his dad's birthday, I'm leaving. He'll be gone overnight, which gives me a full 24 hours to move everything with the help of my sister, 2 close friends, and, surprisingly, his younger brother, Rory. Rory saw one of Alan's rages last month and secretly reached out afterward, asking if there was anything he could do. My attorney has all the divorce paperwork ready. I'll freeze our joint account, take what belongs to me, leave the papers with a clear, honest note explaining exactly why I'm leaving, and I'll be gone before he comes back. I won't pretend I'm not scared. I wake up some nights with my heart racing, overwhelmed by doubt. But then I feel my daughter kick, and everything sharpens into clarity. I have to do this. I won't let her grow up in a home where her mother is belittled every day. I won't let her believe that love is supposed to feel like this. In a strange way, I'm almost thankful for that awful moment with the groceries. If he hadn't dropped the act completely, I might have kept defending him for years. Sometimes I wonder what my life might have looked like if I'd met the real Alan from the start, instead of the charming actor who swept me off my feet. The warning signs were always there. I just didn't want to see them. I was too wrapped up in what I thought was love. I went to the bathroom and cried as quietly as I could. I reminded myself, just a little while longer. I've got a plan. Next weekend, when he heads out of town to visit his parents for his dad's birthday, I'm leaving. He'll be gone overnight, which gives me a full 24 hours to move everything with the help of my sister, 2 close friends, and, surprisingly, his younger brother, Rory. Rory saw one of Alan's rages last month and secretly reached out afterward, asking if there was anything he could do. My attorney has all the divorce paperwork ready. I'll freeze our joint account, take what belongs to me, leave the papers with a clear, honest note explaining exactly why I'm leaving, and I'll be gone before he comes back. I won't pretend I'm not scared. I wake up some nights with my heart racing, overwhelmed by doubt. But then I feel my daughter kick, and everything sharpens into clarity. I have to do this. I won't let her grow up in a home where her mother is belittled every day. I won't let her believe that love is supposed to feel like this. In a strange way, I'm almost thankful for that awful moment with the groceries. If he hadn't dropped the act completely, I might have kept defending him for years. Sometimes I wonder what my life might have looked like if I'd met the real Alan from the start, instead of the charming actor who swept me off my feet. The warning signs were always there. I just didn't want to see them. I was too wrapped up in what I thought was love. My doctor told me my blood pressure is too high, probably from stress, so I need to take it easy this last month. The irony isn't lost on me that planning to leave Alan is stressful in the short term, but absolutely necessary for my long-term health and well-being. To those of you who suggested therapy in my last post, I wanted to share that I've begun virtual sessions with a specialist in pregnancy and relationship trauma. It's been an eye-opening experience. Just having someone confirm that my feelings are valid, that I'm not just being hormonal, has made a world of difference. What I've been going through is emotional abuse, plain and simple, and I know now that I deserve so much more than this. I'll post another update after everything unfolds this coming weekend. Wish me luck, bestie, because I'm going to need it. Edit. Just got a notification that this post is gaining a lot of attention while I'm sitting in the waiting room at my OB/GYN appointment. I'll try to reply to questions once I get home. Thank you all so much for the overwhelming support. Update, same day. Just had to share, Alan just texted me asking what's for dinner tonight. I'm literally sitting in my OB's office for our baby's appointment, which he skipped because apparently he had an important band rehearsal. Translation, he's holed up in his buddy's garage, guzzling beer and jamming out for hours like he's still 22. Meanwhile, I'm still somehow expected to come home and cook. I've been choosing my battles carefully to keep things under the radar, so I'll probably just swing by and grab some takeout on the way home. 4 more days until he heads off to visit his parents. 4 more days of pretending. I can handle this. Oh, and by the way, the doctor said our baby girl is measuring perfectly, with a strong, steady heartbeat. Not that Alan cared enough to ask. She's already flipping around like a gymnast in there, and I swear she senses that we're on the verge of something better. Yesterday, while Alan was glued to his video game, surprise, surprise, I secretly ordered the sweetest crib for our new place. It's getting delivered to Anne's house next week. I've never spent that kind of money without second-guessing myself, but this time, it felt empowering. A choice made entirely for me and for her. This morning, as I was getting ready for work, I caught my reflection in the mirror, and for the first time in years, I smiled. Not because I looked amazing, let's be real, I'm 8 months pregnant and running on fumes, but because I recognized myself again. That little glimmer in my eyes, the one I thought was gone for good, is flickering back to life. Last night, I practiced writing the note I'm leaving for Alan. Putting everything down, his manipulation, the gaslighting, the constant dismissal, felt like finally letting my truth breathe. No more justifying, no more shrinking, just the unvarnished truth about why I'm walking away. I'm still terrified of doing this alone. Single motherhood wasn't what I envisioned for myself, but staying with Alan would mean slowly destroying every last piece of who I am. And what kind of mother would that make me? 4 more days. Just 4 more days of living this double life, and then I'm free. Second update. It's done. I'm out. I'm sitting in my new apartment while I type this, surrounded by boxes and a crib that's halfway put together. But even in the middle of this mess, I've never felt more at peace. Here's how it all unfolded. Just as planned, Alan left yesterday morning for his dad's birthday weekend. His parents live about 3 hours away. For once, he was actually in a decent mood, probably relieved to escape any real responsibility for a few days. He gave me a half-hearted kiss goodbye, told me not to go crazy while he was gone, and promised to be back by Sunday evening. The second his car disappeared down the road, Operation Exodus kicked off. Anne pulled up with her SUV just 10 minutes later, and Mia arrived close behind with a small moving truck she managed to borrow from her job. A few minutes later, Rory, Alan's brother, showed up looking a little uneasy, but determined. We had exactly 32 hours to get me completely out. Standing in that apartment, I felt like I was looking at a ghost town built from 5 years of slowly erasing myself. Room by room, we followed the checklist I'd been putting together for weeks. We packed my personal belongings and clothes, the ones I knew Alan wouldn't immediately miss, followed by all the baby items I'd bought myself, and then the furniture I owned before we ever met. Rory was a rock star, lifting everything without complaint, even when I insisted he didn't need to help me leave his own brother. As Rory hauled out my dresser, he suddenly stopped and looked at me. "Alan's my brother," he said quietly, "but what he's done to you, it's not right. Mom didn't raise us to treat people this way." The words hit me so hard I had to bite the inside of my cheek not to break down right there in the hallway. But nothing matched the satisfaction I felt when I unplugged Alan's beloved gaming PC, the one he had the audacity to buy with a credit card under my name. I tucked it into its original packaging with the care of someone boxing up years of betrayal, while Rory stood nearby, clearly uncomfortable. I could see the conflict in his eyes, family ties on one side, his moral compass on the other. I told him he didn't have to carry that box, that I'd handle it, but he shook his head and took it anyway, grumbling under his breath. About time he faced the music. By 7 that evening, most of my things were packed up and out. We ordered pizza. It's almost becoming a weird tradition for me lately. But this time, it wasn't a sad dinner for one. It was shared with people who genuinely gave a damn. We sat on the hardwood floor of my new place, devouring slices straight from the greasy box, laughing not because anything was especially funny, but because we were running on fumes and finally breathing again. The next morning was about finishing what I'd started. We went back for round 2. I scrubbed that apartment from top to bottom, not for Alan's sake, but because I refused to give him one more thing to whine about. I boxed up the final odds and ends, left behind only what I no longer wanted, and carefully arranged a few parting gifts on the kitchen counter. The divorce papers, filed but not yet served. A folder with receipts and records proving the PC had been bought with a fraudulent card in my name. A USB stick loaded with audio clips of his verbal outbursts. And one simple note: find someone better from your couch. I already have. I didn't strip the place bare. Most of the furniture we picked out together stayed right where it was. I only took what was rightfully mine. But I made sure to photograph every corner of the place before I locked the door, just in case he tried to accuse me of taking what I hadn't. I wasn't interested in revenge or games. I just wanted out with my dignity and what belonged to me. The most brutal part? Doing all this at 8.5 months pregnant. My back was screaming before the end of day 1, and the next morning I woke up with hands so swollen I could barely hold a mug. But adrenaline is a beast, and the knowledge that I was clawing my way toward freedom pushed me forward, even when I felt like collapsing. Once I'd moved into my new place, I called Alan's phone, more out of courtesy than expectation. No answer, of course. I left a voicemail telling him not to bother going to my sister's, that I wasn't there, and that everything he needed was waiting for him in the kitchen. I followed up with a text, blocked his number, and sent a calm, detailed email to his parents explaining that we were separating, and why. I wasn't giving him the chance to twist the story and paint me as the villain. Not even an hour later, my phone lit up with a flood of calls from unknown numbers. Clearly, Alan was borrowing phones trying to reach me. I didn't answer. Eventually, his mom called my sister. They've always been close, and my sister gently confirmed that I was safe and that Alan had treated me terribly throughout the pregnancy. His mother cried. She apologized for what her son had become. I hadn't expected that, but somehow it soothed something in me I didn't know needed healing. Rory kept me in the loop. He said Alan came home early after getting my message. First, he demanded full custody, which was laughable considering he'd barely acknowledged the pregnancy. Then he tried to claim the entire apartment's furnishings, even though I'd left them when I moved out. He even tried to take my car, which I'd bought before we met. Funny how fast his tune changed once my attorney dropped the receipts on his financial lies and verbal abuse. Suddenly, he was in a negotiating mood. We finally reached a settlement 3 months ago. I was awarded primary physical custody of Lily. Alan gets supervised visits every other weekend, 4 hours at a time. Child support is based on what we found to be his actual income, which, surprise again, was way higher than what he claimed. He kept his things, I kept mine, and we split the handful of shared assets. He's now on the hook for the fraudulent credit card debt he racked up. Is it a perfect deal? Number. But it works, and it gives Lily the stability she deserves. Alan's seen her exactly twice since her birth. His first visit, when she was 8 weeks old, he arrived 40 minutes late, griped the whole time about needing supervision, and snapped a bunch of photos for Instagram with captions about being a devoted dad. The second visit was when she was 4 months. He couldn't handle her fussiness and ducked out early. Since then, he's canceled 3 visits in a row with flimsy excuses. Part of me aches for Lily. She deserves better, but mostly I'm relieved. Therapy continues to be a lifeline as I untangle all of this. I refuse to let this pain seep into my child's world or shape whatever future relationships I have. To everyone who's followed my story, cheered me on, offered kind words or tough love when I needed it, thank you. Your encouragement gave me the courage to walk away when I was still half in. The future still scares me, but for the first time in a long time, I can actually see it. Edit, same day. Alan emailed me after I blocked his number. He says he's coming to Anne's tonight because he needs to talk, and that I'm making a massive mistake. I've already warned Anne. She told him I'm not there, and that if he shows up, she'll call the police and file for trespassing. I've also added this to my records in case I need a protective order. Update. Next morning, Alan showed up at Anne's house at 11 p.m., even after being told not to. Anne didn't answer the door, but her neighbor captured him on video, pounding on the door, yelling for nearly 10 minutes before finally leaving. He dumped all of our wedding photos on her porch with a handwritten note. I threw away everything we built. The irony of him suddenly mourning our marriage isn't lost on me. This morning I woke up to another email. This time the tone was completely different. He was apologetic, claimed he didn't understand how much damage he caused, promised therapy, swore he'd be a better father. The old version of me might have been tempted, but I see it clearly now. This isn't love. It's manipulation dressed up as remorse, because control has slipped from his hands. His apology? It was all about him, his pain, his struggle, his loss. Not once did he name the harm he inflicted or acknowledge how that damage might echo into our daughter's life. I didn't reply. My lawyer says from now on, all communication should go through her. Today, I'm spending time setting up the nursery with Anne and trying to catch some rest. Baby girl's been especially active, as if she knows we're finally somewhere safe. TikTok keeps feeding me those 10 signs he actually loves you videos, and all I can do is laugh. I spent 5 years mistaking control for care and comfort for love. Never again, bestie. Never again. Last update. It's been about 10 months since my first post, and so much has changed that I wanted to give everyone a final update. First and most importantly, my daughter Lily is now 6 months old, healthy, happy, and absolutely the light of my life. She has my eyes, Alan's nose, unfortunately, and a personality that's entirely her own. She started sitting up unassisted last week and is currently obsessed with a stuffed sloth my sister got her. Her favorite thing is when I sing to her while dancing around the kitchen, which I do often because her giggle is the best sound in the universe. The birth was intense. I went into labor 3 weeks early, just 5 days after moving into my new apartment. My sister Anne stood by my side through labor, and honestly, she was an absolute rock. After 19 grueling hours, including 3 of relentless pushing, Lily made her grand entrance into the world at 6:22 a.m., wailing with all the strength her tiny lungs could muster. The moment they laid her on my chest, everything, every painful, complicated choice, felt right. I never told Alan I was in labor. My attorney had made it clear I wasn't legally required to, especially considering the volatile way Alan had acted after I left. I didn't want to add fuel to an already burning fire, so I waited until the next day. I sent him an email with a formal photo of Lily, not one with me in it, and a clinical rundown of her birth details. Weight, length, APGAR score, the works. His reply was a cocktail of rage and entitlement, furious that I hadn't called, demanding instant access to his daughter, and accusing me of using her like some kind of pawn. My lawyer took over from there, calmly stating that due to his recent behavior, we'd be going through the court system to set up a proper visitation schedule. Now here's something I've never told anyone before. It might be petty, but my God, it was delicious. Remember how Alan, during my pregnancy, sneered that I looked gross and warned me to drop the weight fast after giving birth? Well, about 3 months postpartum, when I finally started feeling like myself again, I did something that still makes me grin. During the divorce process, we unearthed that Alan had been stashing money in a secret account. My lawyer fought tooth and nail, and I ended up getting a solid portion of that cash, since surprise hidden assets in a marriage still count. Instead of doing the responsible adult thing and dumping it into savings, I decided Lily and I had earned something more. We booked a 5-day stay at a resort on the Gulf Coast of Florida. Anne came along to help with Lily, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could exhale. On our 3rd day there, Lily was snoozing peacefully in her stroller under a shady umbrella while I lounged poolside. I was wearing my first bikini since pre-pregnancy, stretch marks, a C-section scar, and a few softer spots included. But I felt proud. This body had grown and delivered a whole human. I asked Anne to snap a photo of me gazing out at the ocean, sun-kissed, peaceful, and yeah, noticeably slimmer than I had been at 9 months pregnant. Obviously. I sent it directly to Alan with a single caption, "Already slimming down. Don't worry." Then I blocked him again before he could send a single word back. It was glorious. You really can't imagine. That moment, reclaiming my body, my power, and yeah, some of his hidden money, felt like breaking the last chain he had on me. I never found out exactly how he reacted, but according to Rory, he went absolutely ballistic when he got the picture. As expected, the divorce dragged on like molasses. Alan fought tooth and nail, contesting everything. First, he demanded full custody, which was laughable considering he'd barely acknowledged the pregnancy. Then he tried to claim the entire apartment's furnishings, even though I'd left them when I moved out. He even tried to take my car, which I'd bought before we met. Funny how fast his tune changed once my attorney dropped the receipts on his financial lies and verbal abuse. Suddenly, he was in a negotiating mood. We finally reached a settlement 3 months ago. I was awarded primary physical custody of Lily. Alan gets supervised visits every other weekend, 4 hours at a time. Child support is based on what we found to be his actual income, which, surprise again, was way higher than what he claimed. He kept his things, I kept mine, and we split the handful of shared assets. He's now on the hook for the fraudulent credit card debt he racked up. Is it a perfect deal? No, but it works, and it gives Lily the stability she deserves. Alan's seen her exactly twice since her birth. His first visit when she was 8 weeks old, he arrived 40 minutes late, griped the whole time about needing supervision, and snapped a bunch of photos for Instagram with captions about being a devoted dad. The second visit was when she was 4 months. He couldn't handle her fussiness and ducked out early. Since then, he's canceled 3 visits in a row with flimsy excuses. Part of me aches for Lily. She deserves better. But mostly, I'm relieved. Every interaction with him drains me, and the way he drops in and out would only confuse her as she grows. Every interaction with him drains me, and the way he drops in and out would only confuse her as she grows. On my lawyer's advice, I've kept a record of every missed visit. Physically, I'm healing. My body is forever changed. I carry stretch marks, a C-section scar, and I'm around 15 pounds heavier than I was before pregnancy. And you know what? I'm completely okay with that. Financially, I'm not wealthy, but I'm solid. The child support helps, and I've gotten a lot better at managing money now that I'm not bankrolling Alan's so-called music career. I've even started a savings account for Lily's future. As for Alan, last I heard through mutuals, he's telling people I had postpartum psychosis and ran off with his kid and his money. Funny how he skips the part where he lied, cheated, and emotionally tormented his pregnant wife. His Instagram is full of self-pitying posts about fighting for his rights as a father, even though he keeps ghosting visitation. Classic clown behavior. Sometimes I think back to that day at the grocery store. At the time, it felt like the absolute bottom, like my life had completely fallen apart. But looking back now, I realize it was the moment that saved me. Edit. So many people have asked for a baby pic. But for privacy reasons, I can't share Lily's photo. Just imagine the cutest baby ever with chubby cheeks and a smile that could end wars. That's my girl. I just received a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Alan's mom checking in on Lily and asking if she could visit sometime. Unlike Alan, she's been respectful of my boundaries and genuinely seems to care about her granddaughter. I'm considering allowing supervised visits with her separate from Alan's time. Lily deserves to know the family members who will love her consistently and respectfully.